Fallout 4, in my mind, has always been the beginning of the downfall of Bethesda Studios. It goes against everything that the team had established about themselves in all the decades they'd been active. A voiced protagonist, insanely limited roleplay potential, and settlement building lodged right into the center of the game. I have refused to put any considerable amount of time into Fallout 4 since its release. I'd pick it up for an hour or two, realize that I still hate it, uninstall, and repeat the cycle in a few years. Before you scream into your monitors, yes, I know that is not a fair way to judge a game, which is why this time I told myself that I would take Fallout 4 seriously. I would give it a fair shot. I'm 40 hours in, and I feel like I can finally answer the question, was Fallout 4 actually a bad game? Everyone knows how bad and weird the settlement building in Fallout 4 is, and of course, I shared those same sentiments. Wait. Why am I actually enjoying this? When I went into Fallout 4, I expected to be able to get into the story or the combat maybe, not the settlement building. I love my city management games, but when you put it into Fallout, there's no way that could work, right? It is insanely janky, let's not get that twisted. If you place a single floor tile wrong, your whole build is just ruined and messed up and you cannot get it fixed. Sometimes you cannot line things up exactly how you want them. NPCs constantly get in your way, so you have to exit build mode, walk away from your build so the NPCs get out of the way, then you go back and you have to quickly place down your build before someone else gets back in your way. In true Bethesda fashion, the actual mechanics are really janky and annoying. But once you get past all that jank, I love how much sense the settlements make for a Fallout game. Throughout the series, you're wandering around and discovering all these cool new locations where people are just trying to survive and build something from nothing. So it makes perfect sense that our character would do the same thing. There's a surprising amount of freedom to it as well. Like, you can build vertically really high up. You can wire electricity to power up machines and create these systems. You can assign all your citizens different roles in their community. It does make you feel like you're really in charge and trying to make this whole thing work for everyone's sake. And hilariously enough, settlements still felt more intuitive and interesting than Starfield's base building. How is that even possible? Of course, I still have a bunch of annoyances with the settlements. Nothing is ever perfect in a game by these developers. I loved Preston at the start of the game. I thought he was really cool and interesting, and he's got that shit on. But after the 25th line of the exact same dialogue telling me to go liberate some new places, I'm sick of that guy. Get him the hell out of here. I'm half tempted to build like a prison for him, like just a singular room and remove the door. I think that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I think settlements were my most pleasant surprise going into this game. I never really gave them a chance before just because I could not imagine building in a Bethesda game, but it works really well. It feels like 50% of the game is the usual Bethesda stuff, the questing, the combat, the leveling, and the other 50% is entirely dedicated towards scavenging and settlements. While I was out in the world doing quests, in the back of my mind I was always thinking, oh, I need to grab this resource and that resource for back home. I love how they have finally given junk a purpose. Every Bethesda game is chock full of interiors crammed with pots and pans and spoons and pillows, every household item imaginable. But no other Bethesda game has had me picking up this stuff and actually using it. They finally gave all that shit a real important purpose. It truly makes me feel like a scavenger out in this Fallout universe. Although it was kind of annoying every time I picked up an item and my companion would say,
"Why are you doing that? Why do you need that shit? It's useless.
Like, bro, you are living in this apocalyptic universe. Do you not understand that everything has a purpose now? You should know this is valuable. Anyway, after sinking a solid chunk of time into settlements, I was feeling hopeful about the rest of the game, but then the cracks started to show a little, like in the combat. Initially, it felt really good, but as you level up and get stronger, so do your enemies, which I absolutely despise in video games, especially in Bethesda games, because all that it means is that you will be spamming the same button over and over again, shooting at an enemy until their health bar finally drops. There's no thought behind it, it's just completely mindless. Sometimes my eyes just gloss over when I'm in a fight, which is a shame because, like I said, at the start, I was feeling really good about it. I was killing enemies with 2 or 3 headshots, which felt surprisingly satisfying for a Bethesda game. But eventually it turned back into the same old shit, just constant bullet sponge enemies. It's boring. And the difficulty options suck as well, because all they do is change how much damage you take and how much health the enemies have. So yeah, I could drop down the difficulty to easy and one-shot everything and have a lot more fun, but then my own character's life would never be at risk, which just takes away from the danger. The rest of the game's balancing is really good though, like the ammo, which is a weird thing to praise, but I did feel really good about it. You are always on the verge of running out. Like, you're never fully empty, but you've never got mountains of ammo in your pockets either. It feels like I'm having to make every shot count. In all the other Fallout games I've played, they just don't handle ammo as well as they do here. I vividly remember in the latter half of New Vegas, I basically had an infinite supply of ammo. There was no need to even loot for more. But here it feels a bit more hardcore without being totally unfair. The leveling tree is also really good. It might be the best I've ever seen in a Bethesda game. I was almost overwhelmed by how many perks there are. You've got your main ones right at the top, and then as you go down, you unlock a bunch of different skills that are really diverse. I'm currently mainly going for intelligence just because of how much potential there is there in my opinion. You've got your science perks, you've got your hacking, your VATs. It feels like you can't go wrong with any route, but which one you pick is going to drastically change your experience each time. While I appreciate how slow this game starts, I do not appreciate being 20 hours in and still using the same old pipe pistol that barely does any damage. I'm not sure if I'm doing anything wrong because I've got some really overpowered weapons at this point, but I just don't have the ammo for them yet. It feels like they're very lenient handing you ammo for your shitty pipe weapons, but not for the actual real guns. I found a submachine gun about 10 hours in, and I have not found any more ammo for it since. I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Just let me know in the comments. Don't call me anything mean though, don't insult me, just be kind. Be kind. Let's get on to the writing, which I was not feeling great about going into this, but now that I've invested a considerable amount of time into this game, I feel like there is some really good writing for Bethesda standards, and there is also some particularly horrible and uninteresting writing. The companions are probably the best that Bethesda have ever made. There's such a diverse range of them, and I was surprised every time I unlocked a new one. I'd go do some random quest, it would lead me to this person that I really liked, and then at the end of the quest they'd go, "Hey, can I come join you on your travels and help you shoot bad guys?" And I'd be like, what? Another companion? That's so cool! They've all got their own personalities and backgrounds. There's frequent dialogue between you and them, and occasionally a more in-depth conversation, like one I had with Nick Valentine about his background, his origin story back in Diamond City. Usually I travel solo in Bethesda games because I don't find their companions very interesting. I am sorry, Lydia. I am sorry to every NPC in New Vegas whose name I don't remember because you are just so generic and dry and boring. Fallout 4 is the first time I'm I'm actually bringing people along with me just because I enjoy their occasional commentary, but that's about as good as the writing gets, because the main story has not hooked me in whatsoever. I think just doing so much stuff around the Commonwealth severed my attachment to the main story and the urgency of finding Sean. I am sorry, my son. When you're blasting people in your power armor for the sake of the Brotherhood, or pulling off a heist, it's very hard to care about my baby son who I saw for all of 20 minutes at the start of the game. I've been slowly chipping away at the main story, but I just don't feel like doing it. Maybe it gets better later, I don't know. And by the way, this obviously isn't a full review of Fallout 4. I want to make a follow-up video at some point, but for now, I just tried to get the most well-rounded experience I could. I dipped my toes in settlements, the main story, side quests, everything I could find, so this is as balanced of a take as I can give right now. Speaking of side quests, they are way less interesting than New Vegas. From the writing to the gameplay, everything just feels tame and generic here. For the most part, I couldn't form a connection with anyone involved in these side quests, unlike New Vegas, which had some amazing highs, some spectacular writing and quest design. Here, there's currently nothing really of note. Every time a quest feels like it's about to pick up, it ends up on a flat, boring note, like the heist quest line where you're digging through these caves. Most of that is just spent fighting bugs, and then when you finally dig your way out, it ends with, hey, actually, we're not gonna rob you, let's just all be friends. I spent half an hour doing all of that for this.
Okay.
The role-playing, as of where I'm at currently in the game, has been damn near non-existent. It's horrendous. Choices barely have any impact whatsoever. I recently joined the Brotherhood and I kept insulting them to their faces, telling them, hey, I don't agree with your morals or your values. Bear in mind, I am a part of the Brotherhood. They don't care. They do not care that I'm insulting their entire existence to their faces. There's no threats, there's no punishment, nothing. They just go,
let's agree to disagree on that.
like, what? That's not what the Brotherhood is about, right? I've never gotten the impression that they're just so nonchalant about this shit, but I guess. I think the role-playing is the single worst thing about Fallout 4. However, there is a silver lining. When I started treating this game like a story/action game instead of a role-playing one, and I started treating the Vault Dweller as a pre-written character rather than someone I build from scratch, I started having a lot more fun. The trick is you have to go into this game not expecting it to be like 3 or New Vegas. Your character is not a blank canvas here. You are an already existing, pre-written character. When you really try to get into the mind of the Vault Dweller and make the choices that you think they would make, the game becomes a lot more enjoyable. It's still a huge letdown that I can't roleplay the way that I could in other Fallout games, but I guess that's just how it's got to be. Also, if I'm sounding ill, that's because I am. It must be the rads in the air. And just to close it all off, let's talk a little bit about the world, because I am feeling so torn about it. I want to like it, but it's just very weird. What made New Vegas so special to me and so many others was the journey to the strip itself. Starting off in the first town and having to take this very specific route down south, then east, then north, just to avoid the death claws in the starting area. It was a long but necessary journey to reach this famous city. I liked having to be careful, thinking my route through before I set off. Diamond City is meant to be the place in Fallout 4. It's got this famous reputation, but the journey there is so easy, even though it feels like it shouldn't be. You can go from the starting vault all the way down to it, no problems at all. I'm not saying they should have copied New Vegas, but it does just feel a little bit underwhelming. And before we even talk about Diamond City, doesn't Fallout 4's map feel really small, or is it just me? When I think back to New Vegas, which I replayed just last year, the map felt really substantial, whilst here it feels weirdly tiny. I'm gonna assume that it's down to how cramped it is with landmarks. Wherever you look, left, right, there is something to see, which is all well and good, but it feels like they placed all these areas of interest just to justify making the map smaller, because I'd be constantly bumping into invisible walls when I least expected it. It's really weird, I might be nitpicking, I don't know. It's just that you can go from the top of the map to the very bottom in the matter of minutes. I'm not asking for some ginormous Assassin's Creed Odyssey type map, but come on, you can do better. So let's talk about Diamond City, because this was a huge disappointment. It's so underwhelming compared to New Vegas or even Megaton from Fallout 3. The way people talk about it throughout the game, you'd think it's this cultural hub, this metropolis of the Commonwealth. But when you visit it yourself, it's tiny. There's nothing to see or do. There's barely any NPCs that make you go, wow, it was worth coming all this way. There's Nick Valentine and there's the little robot chef. That's it. The rest of Diamond City is just full of these generic settlers. There's quite literally nothing here. The buildings are tiny, and walking through the center of the city, it feels like there's maybe 20 to 25 people living here total. Compare that to New Vegas, which had the strip with the casinos, and then it had everything outside of it. It had the trenches, and all these massive diverse factions fighting it out, either inside New Vegas, trying to seize control of the casinos, or the lowly gangs outside, the weapon dealers and the fucking Elvis clones that were scrapping it out. From all the time I've spent in Diamond City, it has none of that. There's no factions that I could identify, no real hierarchy. The people of power just boil down to the mayor, who's neither intimidating nor important feeling. Anyone can visit him whenever they like. Piper, the reporter, can insult him right to his face. It doesn't feel like there's any real management here. Diamond City is spoken about like this really important location, but when you actually arrive, it doesn't feel like that at all. New Vegas, which came out years before this game, had a more technologically impressive hub, whilst Fallout 4, a 2016 game, feels like it could have been made in 2011 alongside Skyrim. It just feels like Bethesda were very lazy in some regards. Like, they leaned into these gimmicks like the settlement building to make up for the fact that the story and world kind of suck. So what are my final thoughts on Fallout 4, being a hater of this game for so long? I know I've spent a lot of this video calling this game bad and disappointing, but the truth is, it's better than I gave it credit for all these years. I feel like I should hand out an apology to all you Fallout 4 fans and to Bethesda themselves, because I'm going to keep playing this game. Like I said, I want to make a follow-up video when I'm even further in, and I want to check out the DLC because I've heard they're actually really good, and apparently one of them improves on the role-playing aspect. It doesn't come close to New Vegas, and I do still stand by the opinion that Fallout 4 was the beginning of Bethesda's downfall, but it definitely wasn't nearly the disaster that I'd built it up to be in my head. The signs were starting to show that Bethesda were getting lazier and more disorganized, but the game itself is good enough. I feel like it all really went downhill with Starfield, so let's just place the blame on that so everyone's happy, because no one likes Starfield. Until I make the next Fallout video, do consider checking out this one where I talk about whether Skyrim would still be as popular if it released in 2026. Just some food for thought. I'm gonna clock out now. See ya.